Alrighty folks, so now we're going to do some test type questions that have to deal with the sort of thing that we were doing in the last session, which is converting from mixed to entire radicals, as well as ordering radicals by comparing entire radical forms. Okay, so let's take a look at the first question we have here. This is a constructed response type question, and this one says, convert each mixed radical to an entire radical. So I've got to take this 5, and to multiply it by the cube root of 7, got to turn the 5 into a cube root. So that's going to be the cube root of whatever 5 cubed is. So let's see, 5 by 5 by 5, I think that's 125. So we've got 125 there, and then this one is just the cube root of 7, of course. So we can multiply those two things together if we want, and I think 7 times 125, let's see, that's going to be the cube root of 875, if I'm not mistaken. And then for the next one, we have to combine negative 7 times the square root of 3. Not going to be able to get the negative at the inside of the radical for this one because this is a square root, and I'm not allowed to take a square root of a negative number, so I'm going to leave that out in front. We'll talk in more detail. I think I said that in a previous session, but we'll talk in more detail about these negatives and positives and roots and stuff in an upcoming MLO. So let's just take the 7 and convert that into a square root. So that's the square root of 7 squared, which is 49, times the square root of 3. So let's see, that's going to give us the square root. 3 times 50 is 150. So I think this should be 3 less than that, so 147. And there we go. There we go. We've got 2 entire radicals from mixed radicals. All right, so the next question is a multiple choice. It says, which is correctly ordered in increasing order? So it looks like there's 3 different radicals shaken down in any one of these examples. They've all got the same 3 radicals. They're just scrambled up in a bunch of different ways. So what we have to do is decide what's the correct way to order those. So let's look at the 3 that we have. The first one, and they've got some extra brackets that are not really necessary, so we'll skip off on those a little bit. 3 cube root 5, and then 4 cube root 3. You'll sometimes see those extra brackets in there to make sure you don't think that what you have here is something like 4 cubed times 3. But it doesn't look so bad when you write it by hand, just when it's done in computer font sort of language. All right, so let's take all these and write them as entire radicals and see how they come out and compare in terms of their order. First one. So I need a cube root that gives me a 3, so that's going to be the cube root of 3 times 3 times 3, which I believe to be 27. And that's got to get multiplied by a cube root of 5. So let's see, 5 times 20 is 100, and 5 times 7 is 35. So this is the cube root of 135. Okay, next one. So I need a cube root for 4, so that's going to be the cube root of 4 times 4 times 4. 64 when I went to school, probably still is, multiplied by the cube root of 3 there. So that's going to be the cube root of 3 times 64. Let's see, 3 6s are 18. Plus 12, so it's 180 plus 12 is 192. Oof, that's a bigger number than 3. Alrighty, so the next one, we've got the cube root of, let's see, a cube root for 5. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125, multiplied by the cube root, in this case, of 2. So that's going to give us the cube root of 250. When I double $1.25, I get $2.50. So I guess the order that I wrote them down in is actually the correct order because it looks like we go from least to greatest. And if I'm not mistaken, that corresponds directly to the very first option that we have up here. The rest of them are misordered. Okay, so I guess A is our answer. So a quick rehash on how all this stuff works. Remember, if you're converting from a mixed to an entire radical, write the coefficient of the radical with the correct index, turn it into a radical, and then multiply them together. And then to order them, it's easier to compare entire radicals than it is to compare mixed radicals, so make everything entire. All right, we'll see you in the next topic.